Topic: Interview. 4 subtopics. First, meaning and nature of interview. Second, purpose and objectives of interviews. Third, types of interviews. Fourth, interview process, steps involved in process. Meaning and nature of interview. What is an interview? When you split the word interview, you get two words, inter and view. This roughly translates to between view or seeing each other. This means that both the groups involved in an interview get to know about one another. So what is the definition of interview? An interview definition can be crafted as a gentle conversation between two people or more where questions are asked to a person to get the required responses or answers. People involved in an interview, usually two groups or two individuals, sit facing each other in an interview. The person asking questions is the interviewer and the person answering the questions is the interviewee. So what is an interview definition? It can be simply defined as the formal meeting between two people where the interviewer asks questions to the interviewee to obtain information. Objectives of interviews. First, the interviewer's objectives. Second, the interviewee's objectives. The interviewer's objectives. The basic objective of the interviewer is to develop a good understanding of a job candidate's qualifications, interests and character traits that are relevant to the position being filled. Different things are valued for different positions, but recruiters are basically all trying to answer these 4 questions. First, is the candidate a person of good character who will exhibit the necessary level of professionalism? Traits that align with good character include honesty, dependability, flexibility, respectfulness, and being hardworking, team-oriented, and self-motivated. Many employers indicate that the biggest challenge they have with new employees is personality, attitude issues, i.e., coachability, motivation, etc. Ways to convey that you are a person of good character. 1. Include statements that indicate good character. For example, responsibly managed store cash register or student or bank account, trusted to open and close the business, provided compassionate care to the sick or elderly and volunteered at a food bank to help the less fortunate. 2. Share credit for success with teammates and others. For example, I was part of a team that had great success doing blah 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 and I contributed by blah blah blah. 3. Never speak ill of anyone. For example, if asked about conflicts you have had with others, quickly describe the situation and then talk about how you got past the conflict. Second, does the individual have the knowledge and skills needed to do the job, or can he/she be trained in a reasonable amount of time? It is important to identify skills or traits that are particularly important to an employer. Third, is the individual a good fit for the position so he or she and rest of the team will be happy and productive? Employers look for individuals who have a strong interest or passion for the type of work that needs to be done. These individuals will put more effort into their work, take more pride in their work, enjoy their jobs more, and stay with the company longer. Employers also want a good fit with the team and company culture. When the fit is good, teamwork is more effective, people enjoy being at work more, and turnover is reduced. To assess your fit for the position or team, employers want to hear that you have an idea of what you want to do. So spend some time talking about your passions and values that align with the position or company. They also want to know that you have spent some time researching companies and have identified them as one of your target companies. Fourth, is the individual likely to become a good long-term employee of the company or organization? Employers are looking for someone that has the potential to become a good long-term employee. It often strengthens your position when you mention connections to the company or anchors to the area. For examples, 1. I'm from the area and would like to remain near my family. 2. I grew up in a small town and like the lifestyle. 3. I really like your corporate culture and could see myself fitting in well here. The interviewee's objectives. The interviewee's objectives mirror those of the interviewer for the most part. The interviewee should communicate that she can do the work and is a good fit for the position. This is accomplished by 1. Demonstrating good character traits and professionalism. 2. Effectively presenting relevant knowledge and skills that convincingly indicate an ability to do high-quality work. 3. Showing a high level of interest in the position, the type of work being offered, the products produced and/or services offered. 4. Mentioning preferences for the work location, the size of the community, the type of organization, shared values, etc. that indicate the potential for a long-term employment relationship. 5. Showing an interest in learning more about the position and the company by asking good questions. Types of interviews. 4 types of interviews for selection have been identified. First, preliminary interview. The interviews conducted to screen the applicants to decide whether further detailed interview will be required are called preliminary interviews. The candidate is given freedom by giving job details during the interview to decide whether the job will suit him. One of the drawbacks associated with the preliminary interview is that it might lead to the elimination of many desirable candidates in case interviewers do not have much and proper experience in evaluating candidates. The positive argument, if any, for this method is that it saves time and money for the company. Second, patterned interview. In this interview, the pattern of the interview is decided in advance. What kind of information is to be sought or given, how the interview is to be conducted, and how much time is to be allotted to it, all these are worked out in advance. In case interviewee drifts, she is swiftly guided back to the structured questions. Such interviews are also called standardized interviews. Third, depth interview. As the term itself implies, depth interview tries to portray the interviewee in depth and detail. It, accordingly, covers the life history of the applicant along with her work experience, academic qualifications, health, attitude, interest, and hobbies. This method is particularly suitable for executive selection. Expectedly, depth interview involves more time and money in conducting it. Fourth, stress interview. Such interviews are conducted for the jobs which are to be performed under stressful conditions. The objective of stress interview is to make deliberate attempts to create stressful or strained conditions for the interviewee to observe how the applicant behaves under stressful conditions. The common methods used to induce stress include frequent interruptions, keeping silent for an extended period of time, asking too many questions at a time, making derogatory remarks about the candidate, accusing him that he is lying, and so on. The purpose is to observe how the candidate behaves under the stressful conditions, whether he loses his temper, gets confused or frightened. However, stress-inducing must be done very carefully by a trained and skilled interviewer, otherwise it may result in dangers. Emotionally charged candidates must not be subjected to further stressful conditions. The candidate should be given sufficient chance to cope with such induced stress before he leaves. Steps in the job interview process. First, screening interview. A screening interview is a type of job interview that is conducted to determine if the applicant has the qualifications needed to do the job for which the company is hiring. A screening interview is typically the first interview in the hiring process if the company does not start with open interviews where multiple candidates are screened at an open hiring event. Second, phone interview. Employers use phone interviews to identify and recruit candidates for employment. Phone interviews are often used to narrow the pool of applicants who will be invited for in-person interviews. For remote jobs, interviewing by phone, Skype, or video may be how you get hired. Third, first interview. The first in-person job interview is typically a one-on-one interview between the applicant and a hiring manager. The interviewer will ask questions about the applicant's experience and skills, work history, availability, and the qualifications the company is seeking in the optimal candidate for the job. Fourth, second interview. A second interview can be a more in-depth one-on-one interview with the person you originally interviewed with, or it can be a day-long interview that includes meetings with company staff. You may meet with management, staff members, executives, and other company employees. Once you're scheduled for a second interview, you're most likely in serious contention for the job. Fifth, third interview. When you have made it through the first interview, then the second interview might make you think that you're done with the interview process and you'll soon find out whether you'll be receiving a job offer. That's not necessarily the case. You may have to participate in a third interview and possibly more interviews after that. A third interview typically involves a final meeting with the hiring manager and may provide the opportunity to meet more of your prospective colleagues. Sixth, dining interview. Dining with job applicants allows employers to review your communication and interpersonal skills, as well as your table manners, in a more relaxed for them environment. Depending on the interview process of the company you're interviewing with and the type of job you're applying for, you may be invited to a lunch or dinner interview. 7. Final interview. The final interview is the last step in the interview process and the interview where you may find out whether or not you are going to get a job offer. Here's information on preparing for an interview when you have already met with the company multiple times, and advice on how to handle a final interview. 8. Reviewing interview. Questions and answers regardless of where you are in the interview process. It's important to practice interviewing and to be prepared for the typical interview questions you'll be asked during each step in the process. It's also important to have questions ready to ask the interviewer. 9. Following up after each step in the interview process. Even though it may seem like a lot of work, especially when you have gone through multiple interviews, it's important to follow up after each step in the interview process. In fact, the most important thing you can do is to follow up and reiterate your interest in the position and to thank the interviewer for taking the time to meet with you. 10. Background check. You may receive a job offer contingent on a background check and/or a credit check. Or, a background check may be conducted prior to a company offering a job. What the company learns during the background check could result in you not getting a job offer or in the job offer being withdrawn. 11. Job offer. When you have made it through the sometimes grueling interview process, the final step will be a job offer. The job offer may have conditions attached, so review the terms carefully. Before you accept, it's important to evaluate the compensation package, consider whether you want to make a counteroffer, and then accept or decline the job offer in writing. Strengths of interview. First, selection of correct candidate. Hiring the right candidate with right qualifications and skills is important for any company to avoid any kinds of problems in the future. Whether the problem is related to the company's productivity or employees' discipline, it can be prevented timely by selecting the right personnel. Viewing from a different perspective. Not all people who apply for the job are genuine. Some people might just submit a fake resume or CV with incorrect information. In such case, it will be a blunder if the company hires such people. The interview helps the interviewer in knowing the candidate personally, hence making them able to recognize who the candidate really is. Second, collection of information. An interview is helpful in collecting a lot of information, primary to comprehensive, about the candidate. General information like name, address, academic qualifications, etc. can be grabbed from a CV as well. But information like nature, attitude, personality, opinion, feelings, etc. can be gained only through an interview. The interview helps to conduct an in-depth analysis of the candidate to conclude whether the candidate is really suitable for the company or not. Third, easy correction of speech. An interview is basically held in the physical presence of the interviewer and the interviewee. In cases when any of the parties is not physically accessible, other approaches to live conversation are adopted. Whatever may be the approach, interview being a live conversation, it allows the mistakes and the misunderstandings to be easily revised. Fourth, initiation of relationship. Interviews are generally set up to extract information about the candidates. However, it helps the candidates to extract a lot of information about the company as well. Not all candidates are selected by the interviewer's employers, but those who get selected can easily develop a good relationship with the company if they had a good interview during the selection process. Fifth, time and cost effective. There are high chances of wrong personnel being recruited in the company in absence of interview during recruitment. Such recruitment is useless and the company will need to begin the process from the beginning. Therefore, it is wiser to include an interview in recruitment phase to save time as well as money of the company. 6. Flexible. Interviews can be set up as per the need of the company. Different posts demand different qualifications and skills which can be detected by the help of various methods of interviews. 7. Exchange and increase of knowledge. Interviews being verbal interaction, it allows the interviewer and the interviewee to freely exchange their views and ideas. This helps in broadening knowledge regarding any particular field. Limitations of interview. First, no record. Interviews are verbal interactions and there have not been any techniques set up to record these interactions. Lack of record can lead to great confusions because one cannot remember things exactly for a long time. Second, incomplete process. Yes, an interview is a major tool of the selection process, but it is not the final one. It is because interviews do not help in extracting every single detail about the candidate. For an instance, if the company is in need of a technical employee, say a writer, it should give the candidate's written test in order to check how well are their vocabulary and other skills required to create a good piece of work. Third, incomplete information. An interview is regarded as a reliable technique for collecting information, but it does not help always. Sometimes due to the negligence of interviewer and interviewee, the company can miss the collection of important information. For example, when an interviewer is passively conducting the interview, she might forget to ask the interviewee even important questions. In the same way, an interviewee might give wrong or irrelevant answers when she does not listen to the question attentively. Fourth, mentally disturbing. There are various methods of interview, among which methods like behavioral, puzzle and stress interviews are known to put the interviewee under intense pressure conditions. Questions asked by the interviewers during such interviews can leave the interviewee mentally disturbed. Fifth, effective interviewers' personality and mood. The selection of interview questions and the level of scrutiny can depend upon interviewers' personality and their mood. Interviewers who are easygoing or in good mood can ask questions that are comparatively easier and can even select candidates who are less capable of further consideration. In contrast, strict and more demanding interviewers can reject even qualified candidates. 6. Snap judgment. Interviews are arranged for a specific period of time during which the interviewer tries to collect as much information as possible about the candidate by asking several questions. The interviewer then judges the entire nature, personality, and attitude of the candidate on the only basis of the answers given by the interviewee. Seven steps to prepare for your job interview. Now that you have an interview, there are certain things you will want to do in advance to prepare for it. Remember, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, so you'll want to do your best on preparing for your interview in advance. First, pick out what you are going to wear on your job interview. What you wear on your interview is an absolutely crucial part of how to prepare for a job interview. After you choose your outfit, make sure it is cleaned and pressed and you have the appropriate accessories and shoes to go with it. It doesn't hurt to try the outfit on ahead of time, just to make sure everything fits and you look great. Then put your outfit aside for the day of your interview and have it ready to go. Now that you have this crucial step out of the way, you can concentrate on the rest. Second, practice greeting your interviewer. You should always greet your interview with friendly smile and firm handshake. If you do this right, you will set off the right energy and the chances of the interview going well will increase. This is a small and simple step that you should always do to prepare for your interview. Third, study your resume and know everything on it. Any work experience or skills you have listed on your resume are fair game to talk about during the interview. Your resume is all the interviewer has to go by in order to get to know you. They may pick things out from it and ask you to elaborate. Even though you may have a previous job listed that was many years ago, the interviewer may ask you to explain what you did at that job and you are responsible for providing an answer. This is one step you absolutely won't want to skip on how to prepare for a job interview. Fourth, practice your answers to the most common interview questions. You'll want to have your answers ready and practice them. You should always be able to answer, "Tell me about yourself," and "Why do you think you would be great for this job?" The employer doesn't know, so it's up to you to sell it. Don't completely memorize your answers so they come out rehearsed, but have a clear idea of what you are going to say. When you are asked, you want your answer to come out intelligently and natural. Be open to other questions as well and really know what you can offer to the company. Fifth, research the company and the job position you are applying for. Write down any questions you may have about either so you can ask during the interview. If there are any requirement of the job that you are unsure of, you should definitely ask during the interview. It always looks nice when you go into an interview with intelligent questions. It shows you put effort in preparing for the interview. However, never ask questions just to ask questions. The interviewer will see right through that. Your questions should be genuine and relevant. 6. Find out the type of interview you will be going on. There are several common types of interviews such as one-on-one, group, and behavioral. You shouldn't assume you will get a certain one. Don't be afraid to ask your recruiter what kind of interview you will have if you don't know. The interview will be more beneficial to both parties if you are prepared. 7. Print out the directions to the interview and be on time. Allow enough time to get there and anticipate traffic. It's okay to be up to 10 minutes early, but no more than that. Otherwise, the interviewer may not be ready for you. Bring the phone number of your interviewer just in case you get lost or are going to be late. If you are going to be late, call to let the interviewer know.